it's a common denominator among people who develop eating disorders that there is this desire to please other people. And if you come from a family where accomplishment, achievement, performance, not necessarily on the stage, but performance in general, are highly valued, that adds to that sense of pressure. Well, I'm not going to be good enough if I can't do this and be really good at it, if I can't do this perfectly. It's a very paralyzing way to live because nobody's perfect. And no matter how hard you try to do anything perfectly, you're always going to realize you're falling short of these unrealistic expectations. And so here you are, probably highly accomplished, doing great things and probably achieving beyond what most people can do, but you're focused on that little smidgen of the gap between the perfect and the good, and it makes you crazy. I think one of the things that surprised me the most in talking to Karen when I first started talking to her on the phone was, first of all, she had this very, don't know why I was surprised, but very low kind of tone to her speaking voice, as she did with her, beautiful alto singing voice. But that kind of took me off guard. And then she kind of talked like she was one of the guys, and very kind of abrupt and blunt and sometimes even a little salty. But it was like that, you see this kind of prim and proper angelic voice person on the stage, you don't expect to have a conversation that sounds like that. But I'm all right. It was kind of endearing in a way, and I felt like I was really getting to experience her and not the stage person or the persona, but Karen. I kind of appreciated her kind of tomboyish approach to things, but it would not surprise me if people tried to change her image to fit a mold that they thought was more palatable for the kind of music that she was making and the kind of audience that would attract. I mean, it's pretty obvious. People have been told time and time again that they needed to change their hair, change their body, change their name. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I'm sure that was something that she encountered, and it's very crazy making to feel like you're having to live kind of a schizoid life where you're one person with one group of people and another person with another group of people. And I think it's really important to be able to integrate who you are and be your most authentic self, no matter who you're with or where you are. I think that's good mental health. I've always referred to Karen as the hub of the wheel that was the Carpenters. The wheel didn't turn if she wasn't there in the middle turning it. And that's a lot of pressure for a female person who's struggling with something as serious as an eating disorder. Run and find the one who loves me. Karen's voice was unique. When you heard the first few notes, you knew exactly who you were listening to. Her voice was like the female version of Mel Torme. It was that velvety, smooth, mellifluous, rich, pitch-perfect sound that almost sounded like an instrument. And that's kind of what I remember. And the feeling that you would get when you heard it. Because it wasn't just about hearing the sound. It was like that kind of feeling that you felt when you were hearing it. I think that one of the hallmarks of anorexia and bulimia is you become really good at deceiving people. And one of the things that I did, and I'm sure Karen must have done it too, is wearing layers of clothing because you don't want people to see your bones sticking out. And so you find nice clothes and you just layer them, and you don't look quite as, like you're wasting away. And when you're young, you tend to have a rounder face. Your face tends to thin out as you get older. And so if people were just looking at my face and not seeing, my body being exposed other than in several layers of clothing, it wasn't quite as obvious, There are things that I'm certainly not proud of, but, when I would binge, I would sometimes shoplift food. I would shoplift laxatives. And again, it was like I was doing these things because I wanted to achieve the end that I wanted to achieve, which was not gaining weight or losing weight. But in the process, I was doing damage to my gastrointestinal system. I was dehydrating my body seriously, especially with the laxatives. One of the things that is kind of a hallmark of people who are struggling with anorexia, especially when you're at your lowest, is you don't want to have to explain to people why you look the way you do. And so you either cover it up or you hide it, or you won't let people take photographs of you because you don't want a record of that. So I was sitting out at a picnic table in the yard outside of my in-laws' home, and my mother-in-law had fixed a turkey. So I'm sitting out there with this big turkey carcass in front of me. And I'm sitting, it's a nice day outside, the sun is shining, it's warm. And I'm sitting in a pair of shorts and a short sleeve t-shirt, gnawing what's left on these bones. And my husband grabbed his camera and photographed me in that setting. I didn't know he was taking those pictures. I probably would have been upset with him at the time, but now I'm really glad he did, because there wasn't a whole lot of record of what I looked like at my worst. So those pictures were included in the book because you got to tell the whole story no matter how vulnerable it makes you. They're not pretty pictures, but they're important pictures. So here I was gnawing on the turkey bones, and here's some color pictures again where you can see how scrawny my arms and legs were. I would have been probably 22 and a half, 23 years old in these pictures, and I think I was in the low 80s, low 80 pounds here. I had heard the statistics that it was one of the few mental illnesses that can lead to fatality, but to have had that last phone call with her where she seemed so upbeat and so hopeful, and then to have not only somebody die, but somebody that well-known, that well-loved, to suddenly be gone was such a shock.
Fans of Karen Carpenter, many openly grieved as if they had lost a member of their own family.
She's the best cotton-picking singer that ever trotted around the streets of LA or anywhere, as far as I'm concerned.
It was like, if it can happen to her, it can happen to anybody. She could have had the best doctor, she could have had the best treatment, she could have, and she wasn't immune. And I think that made a lot of people who had been battling with eating disorders sit up and take notice, okay, this is more serious than I realized. I've always been a little Pollyanna-ish in that I'm always looking for the silver lining. I'm always looking for the positive, because I think that it's about your perspective. Even when I was going through the worst of my anorexia and stuff, I still believed that there was hope. I couldn't always see it. I didn't always know what my road out was going to look like, but I always believed that it was there. And I think in the same way that a seed is planted and it dies, it literally disintegrates, and then new life comes up. That sometimes the horrible things that happen in our lives that look extremely dark and lonely and devastating are actually the opportunity for something new and beautiful to be born. And while we're in the middle of it, this few weeks after she passed, it might not have been easy to feel that or see that. But I do believe that her death had a positive purpose. It's sad not to hear her voice making new music, but the fact that her sacrifice has a redemptive purpose in the lives of possibly other people means that it didn't happen for nothing.